Won't be on Nosai. It's going to be on Shavuos a little bit. I mean the Shir, Mitzvah, and a different time Nosai. I think there's last year's Nosai. I'm not sure what I said last year, but something to listen to, hopefully. Okay, so before I start, I want to dedicate the Shir. Um, uh, any birthdays? So for my father, my mother, Abshapsa ben Cyril, Tzapora Basrochu, my brother Shmuel ben Tzapora Yeshua, and whoever needs a shidduch, whoever needs, who is a shidduch between Hashem and the Jewish nation, whoever needs children, refuas and panosa and mazel and alligator zachen and nachas and so on, erlis and some got some light. All right, so let's start the share of Shavuos. Let's start off Shavuos. What happened on Shavuos is the 50th day of Pesach. Shavuos, Matan Torah. Okay, but if you want to start off Shavuos, Shavuos is, it says, let's start off with a little bit of a kasha. It says in Elakai Nitzor, and Elakai Nitzor is the last part of Shemoneh Esrei. It says, "V'nafshi kofel akol tiyeh." My nefesh, my soul, should be like offer, like dust, akol to everybody. Why do you have to make yourself a ganze shmata for everybody in order that you should what? Self-esteem is not the key to success. Self respect. Why does v'nafshi, my soul should be like offer, like oil? And then it goes, Psach libi b'seir secha, open my heart to your Torah. What's the connection, B'chlal? Psach libi is about Shavuos. What's v'nafshi kofel akol tiyeh? Well, nafshi kofel akol tiyeh is the derech eretz kodem l'Torah, which is the Yimei Asfira, rectifying ben adam l'chaveri, Rabbi Kiva's students, lo yinagu koved zeh b'zeh, and all that. Why is that a prerequisite to Psach libi, the nafshi kofel akol tiyeh? What's pshat in that? We learn Megillus Rus on Shavuos. Why do we learn Megillus Rus on Shavuos? We should have learned it on Pesach. It's Mount Ketzir Sasoirim. Ketzir from the Soirim. That's Pesach time. Shavuos is already wheat, not Soirim, not barley. It happened Pesach time, not Shavuos time. So let's answer right away. Let's ask another question. Rus, that's a non-Jewish name. When she gets a Jewish name, she gets a new neshama. So why don't you give a new name? Why is it Rus? Why is Megillus Rus so important that we can't start shoes without Megillus Rus? You have in Yisroi, you have the Matan Torah in Shmoy says in Yisroi. Without Yisroi, we said that in the Shir you can't have, and here without Rus you can't have Matan Torah either. Let's ask another kash. Shavuos is when you started everything, but it failed. You gave the Torah, but Hashem broke the Moshe broke the luchas, and we get it back on Yom Kippur when it's Vayom Hashem Salachti Kedvarecha. Do Shavuos on Yom Kippur or Yom Kippur on Shavuos, but that's the Torah as we know it today. So let's try to dig in and unpack a bissel the Indian over here. We have Megillus Rus ultimately, first for two reasons. Rus is Reish Vav Saf. Reish is 200, Vav 6 Saf, 400 together, 606. Plus the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach, you have 613. Every Jew on Shavuos sort of takes up the Torah again, and it takes up the Rus, the 606 mitzvahs, besides the civilized mitzvahs of Sheva mitzvahs B'nai Noach. It's not exactly the same as Jewish mitzvahs. The tolerance is much less. But the point is that there's 606 besides the 7 and the Sheva mitzvahs B'nai Noach. So that's why Rus is very important, not to change the name but keep the Rus. She took Rus upon herself as a Jewess. The Jewish nation takes the Rus upon themselves every year. What's so important about this Rus? What's the lesson of Rus that we want to emulate? So let's think about it for a second. Shavuos is taka. The Shir Shirim would be very pasik. It would be very suitable for Shavuos. It talks about love. It talks about the marriage between Hashem and Klal Yisrael. It would be Rus happened in Pesach. Shir Shirim is about love, about Shavuos, right? B'yom Chasanos, B'yom Simchas Levi. The Gemara says that is Shavuos, right? So it should have been, but there's something more important, which is number one. Pesach is the beginning of Shavuos. Shavuos is after Chalamoid of 7 weeks, so that's not a kasha. But more than that, it's Rus on Shavuos because it ends off with David HaMelech. So why can David HaMelech come out of anybody else? Why does why does he have to come out of Rus? What's the yisoid of Rus that David HaMelech has to get biyonik? He has to get this nutrition. He has to get this nourishment from Rus. What did she have? What was the Gavaldige Zach? And then we take at the end Perek Dalet. This is Perek Dalet Pasuk Yud Aleph. Vayomru kol ha'om asher b'shar, the whole nation, that was in the gates. That was like the center. The Shah used to be the center. Vazakenim Edim. Yitin Hashem es isha. They're wishing her, they're blessing her. Yitin Hashem es isha bo el beisecho ki Rochel ucheleya. She should be like Rochel and Leah. Ashabonu shteihem as Beis Yisrael, that both together Rochel and Leah built Beis Yisrael. There's something that Vasei Chayil, and you should prosper be'efrosa and efros, and kroshem be'veis lochem. You become famous in Beis Lochem. And then your house should be Kibeis Peretz Asher Yolda Samar Yehuda. Oh, we have another two names. We have Rochel and Leah, and we have Tamar and Yehuda. Menazer Ashitin Hashem, from the descendants, the children, Hashem will give to you Menanara Zois from this house, from this Menara, from Ruth. And Boaz takes Ruth, and he becomes it takes her for a wife. Vayovi Elel, and he lives with her. Vayitin Hashem lo hiroin vatelid bein, and she became pregnant. She had a son, and all the people told Nami Baruch Hashem, and so on and so forth, and they consoled her, and everything from there went. What do we have over here? We have 4 figures, 2 pairs. We have Rachel and Leah, and we have Tamar and Yehuda. And this is a prerequisite to the bracha that Boaz is trying to create. And from then comes Oyvad, Yisha, Yisha, David, and David Shloim. You have a story over here of Ruth, which is very important for Shavuos. You have Ruth. She's a princess. She has a sister Orpah, and they're both very distinguished. And comes Elimelech, the 3 brothers. There's the Goel. We don't know his name. I don't know his name. Maybe some of Farshim say his name. There's Elimelech, and there's Boaz. You have 3 people. Elimelech left. I think in last year's shir, if not another shirim, I say this. Elimelech wasn't pashut; he was a selfish guy. Elimelech wanted to tell the nation, "I can give you today, tomorrow, but eventually the money will finish. You won't have me forever. You have to fix the problem, and then you'll have money yourself." It's not the point. Hashem is not punishing you in order to punish. Hashem is punishing you that you should wake up and smell the coffee and do something about it. So it's not about giving fish, it's about teaching somebody how to fish. Well, this is the Yiddishkeit based on that discipline of invest today for tomorrow. There's expenses and there's investment. You can either spend your money, poor people spend money, rich people invest. They're both spending on the house. But some people are doing it as an investment that you get repaid, that the money's working for you, or you're just spending. Most of us don't know how to make money because we have a pauper's mind. Our mind ain't only elabadas, says the Gemara. So not Elimelech is not telling them just no, I'm running away from life. Elimelech is saying I'm leaving, so you'll have to depend on Hashem and on yourselves. You'll have to connect Hashem, otherwise you're coming to me that I should save your back, but you're not going to the source. Go to Hashem. So it's not so pashut. Melech is a smart person. He's the greatest of the great, and he just leaves automatic as a low life. No, it doesn't make sense, and it's probably not true. And therefore, I like the other pshat. The pshat is he's telling him you have to start connecting yourself. You have to learn how to be successful. You have to be disciplined, and you have to invest. Okay, finish with that. Then there's a third brother, Boyas. So you have these three people, and let's put them in the side. Elimelech goes and leaves, and his two sons go out. Machlokes if they were Megayer. Those times are different than today. In any case, I'm not going to give any kulas, but in general, there is such a shita. The rabbis know it. There's such a maybe I shouldn't say it, but there is such a shita. If people consider themselves Jewish, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty serious. My point is, yes, it was very possible that they took upon themselves to become Jewish without all the bezdins. They took upon themselves and they expressed their way. They went to the mikveh and it's good to go. They don't need bris milah. They're a lady, two ladies, and very possible they converted to Judaism. So let's say they converted. Let's be down the cups. They converted to Judaism. They converted to Judaism. That means they need a ksubin. They need so on. Whatever it was. That's a situation. Now they marry two sisters. Two brothers marry two sisters. Machlin and Chilion. Machlin marries Rus. Chilion marries Orpah, and they live for 10 years. No children there, and they also die. So Elimelech goes. He dies. Two sons die. They lost all the money. Nomi, the big Rebbetzin Nomi, the Rebbetzin of the Gedolah Hador, Nomi, which she was very prestigious and rich and respected. All of a sudden, she amounts to nothing. She comes to Yisrael because she hears that Hashem, he's not so harsh anymore, and there's not such a famine anymore. Let's go back. We have nothing that keeps us here. Let's go back home. And she's later, when she gets there, she says, "Don't call me Naomi pleasant, call me Mora, because Hashem handed with punishment and so on." The two sisters originally they come from Moav, which is nothing to write home about. But Amnon and Moav together, they come from Lot and incest. They come from Lot and his daughters. There's not a lot of the morality is not that high over there. But somehow they came into the family. They learned of a higher life, a higher purposeful, meaningful life, and they joined in, and they were doing pretty well. Now, Orpah, it's sort of, she went through the yeshiva system. She went through the girls' school system. She went through Beis Yaakov. She knows better. So now she feels bad leaving. I mean, I'm going to go back to that life of doing whatever you want with whoever you want, when you want, and where you want, and for how long you want. That's mamash efkeres. So she had this guilty conscience. So originally, they want to go with her, and she says, "What are you gonna have from me? I have nothing to offer." I mean, she says, even if I get pregnant, I marry somebody and get pregnant, and are you going to wait around? Of course not. So it's not even shaykh. Could she even bear children at this stage in life? And therefore, it doesn't make sense. It's not rational. You have a whole life in front of you. If you go back, you be the greatest princess. If you come to the Jewish nation, you're second-class citizen, bizgonish, megonish, then it doesn't make sense for you to convert now, or let's say you converted to come in. In other words, they can complain, "Give me the ksuba. Where's the ksuba money?" And she can say, "I'm sorry, I don't have anything to give. So go back to your parents." They can claim that you owe us when you took us and you promised us, go work, go shnaran and do whatever you want. They didn't. They did chesed. They can claim, "I have no obligation to pay for my husband's kavura for their funeral," and they paid. She didn't have, they paid. They did chesed. But now comes the next step. She wants to go back home. Nothing keeping me back here. I have no money. I've got no status. I have no respect. Garnish, garnish. Nobody cherishes me. I'm a total failure, and I'm going back. She goes back. So they walk. And Chazal teach she walked 40 steps. Later, her son, Goliath, went and he taunted the Jewish nation for 40 days, morning and evening, because of she walked 40 steps. But Nomi said, stop, stop. There's no point. There's no point. Go back. You'll have a rich life. Hey, you're going to be second class citizens. You'll be like Yoris. And it's not the same. Go back. You have no obligation, nothing keeping you. You have no children, no Jewish children. You can go back and that's it and call it a night. Orpah thought that she makes sense. That's rational. What I should leave and become a shmata? Why? I was very respected until today. I was very prestigious. I had my status until today. So Orpah goes ahead and vaynashik. What's the lashon? She vat vatishak lematisena kolim vatifkeda, and they kissed her, and he she kissed them, and she they raised their voice and cried, and they said we're going back with you, and Naomi said no, why okay, the whole shakla v'tarya, and then and then they cried more. Vatishak orpa lachamoiso v'rus dofkoba. Orpa kissed her mother-in-law, v'rus dofka, and Rus clinged on to her, that's her to mother-in-law. So now she tells Rus, look, your sister left and she went back, and you go back just like her. Why would you why would you insist to stay? Vatoyme Rus al tivki, don't urge me to losvich to leave you. Loshuv ma'acharoyach, to go back from you. Ashad ki el telchi elech, wherever you go, I go. Ashad talini olin, wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Ami, your nation is my nation. Velekayach lekoy, your God is my God. Ashad tamusu omis, the way you die, I will die. V'shamei cover, and I will be buried there too. Koyasa Hashem li v'choyosef ki amom shafet b'nei v'necha, and so on. And then when she sees Vateda, ki misametes. Misametes means determined, but misametes also means imushitzah. She's struggling. Hilaleches. In other words, she's struggling she's determined, but she's determined to go with her, with her mother-in-law, and she stopped, to try to persuade her not to go with her, and she was masking she go, and they went together, and so on and so forth, and they come to Israel. But so here's the thing. The Gemara says, Yovai, let come the one Hanashuka, Bnei Hanashuka, the son of the one that kissed, the yipol and fall biyad in the hand of Bnei Hadvuka. That means David HaMelech, Rus has Oyevid has Yishai bores David, and David is fighting Goliath, which Goliath is a son of Orpah. According to the Mefarshim, he's also not only a son of Orpah, he's a son of the Grace Shimshon Agiba. Now, there was a ganze story there with the Mefarshim Taina, that which is son. That's one sheet. What means Hanashuka? What means Hadvuka? Now we say this in I mean, we say this in Oshanis. Where's Oshanis? This is for me, that's one of the most moving Oshanis. One of the most moving Oshanis by me is Oymani Choyma. Okay, I'm not going to go all, but when you have the Harugo Lechem, In the Shavuos Ketzain Tivcha, we're killed because we hold your name Hashem, and we're considered like sheep to the slaughter. Ketzain Tivcha. V'lu yibin machiser, chavuka dvuka boch. Te'enes ulach, we carry your burden. Kavusha bakoila, melutas lechi, they slap us in our cheeks. Nesuna lamakim, we're giving to be beat up. Sevela sivlach, we're soivel, we endure your suffering. And the assertive producer, so we scream out of pain, we scream, Moishana, please help me. There's so much going on over here. One of the most heart-rendering Hoishanas. I mean, this. If you think about it, you have to tear up when you sing this Hoishanas. You're walking around with the lulav and esrig around the bima. I mean, it sarais the hearts. It really does. People hate us only because of you, and we're proud of it. And the question again, the Jews will go again and again to the slaughter if that's what it takes to be a Jew. What's how do you symbolize all that? And there's three words of it: chavuka, chavuk, that's held on to, it's hugging. Udvuka boch, I'm clinging for my life to you. What's the nafkamina between neshuka and dvuka? Neshuka means I give you a kiss. I give you a kiss and I go away. Chavuka, I'm locking in my hand. Udvuka boch, I'm locking in with the hug. What's the nafkamina? Hugging is a symbol of kissing, of love, and kissing is a symbol of love. And smiling with the eyes is a symbol of love. There's all sorts of, you give a sign, a love sign, there's also a symbol of love. You write a love letter, is a symbol of love. I would want to dedicate this share to a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. I'm wearing his glasses, Benny Shore, Binyamin ben Rachel, Binyamin ben Pinchas. I'm buying my glasses from him for decades. Since he used to work in 52nd and 16, I forgot the name. Then he opened up in his father's basement, Diamond Optical. The best, have a high number. If I ever, my eyes just said, he's the best, Mom is the best. But let's dedicate, he passed away last week. So somebody sent me Amar de Kazar. He used to write a love letter to his wife every Friday. Every Friday he wrote and I saw a picture of three of these letters. A small, such a size note, colorful. I saw three pink slips. And it wasn't a pink slip, it was a note of love. He wrote out a note of love to his wife of appreciation. That is love. That's appreciation. But chavuka dvuka bach is the strongest. I'm holding you, I'm hugging you, and in the back, not the front, the back, there's nothing in the back. And I'm holding on. It's a symbol of saying, I'm not letting go. I'm not letting go. I'm clinging to you and not letting go for no money. There's nothing in the world that can make me let go. I can't let go. That's chavuka dvuka ba. I'm hugging you and I'm clinging to you. I'm not letting go. So even when it's hard, even when it's so painful, even when it's annoying, even when it's boring, chavuka dvuka ba. What's nishuka? Nishuk is you walk into business and you see the client today to have to think after this, after that. And the client wasted an hour of your time. And he or she feels bad and they throw a 20, a 50, 100, whatever they throw. You know they're not coming back. The Nishuk is the guilty conscience. They wasted your time and they're not planning to come back. So they throw something for your time, for the salesman's time. Let's say 5 clients walked into the store and you were loyal to them, so you lost those 5 clients and the whole thing. Neshuka is something. The famous story. There's a famous story with 2 sisters. They twin sisters. They one married a rich guy and one married a poor guy. And they were in different cities, and they didn't meet up for a very long time. And after years, I don't know, they're both, let's say, 30, right? They're young and fresh still, but so the rich guy happens to come to that town. She goes to visit her sister. She walks into her sister's place. Oh, he wie die Nacht. Oh, never. And there's nothing. Everything is ripped and broken. Everything, it's, Baruch Hashem, a family and everything else. And she observes that everybody's happy. The kids are running around with rags, but they're so happy. And her sister is so happy, and everything is one happy family. And she's sitting there sad, and she tears up. And her sister asks her, "What are you so upset about? Why are you so sad? I see you crying. What happened?" He says, "I'm jealous of you. You have such a beautiful family. Everybody's so happy, fulfilled. You see a fulfilled family, false geschmack." He says, "You're jealous of me. I'm always jealous of you. All the years I'm jealous. You married when you're 18. 12 years, I'm terribly jealous of you. Everything, I'm running from babysitter to babysitter, from job to job. I'm hectic. I can never pay my bills in time. It's such struggle, such difficulty. You have everything. Look at the fancy jewelry on both hands, on the ears, on the necklace. You have a Welt, you have vacations all over, you have a few houses here and there, luxurious houses and cars and whatever. I don't know. You have help at home, you have cooks and you have maids and you have everything. She says, "Enochanami, have everything, and you have officially you have nothing. But you have a husband that loves you and he gives you the time of his life. He gives you, I'm sorry, the time of the day. You have children that love you, they give you the time. My my little family, they're too busy for me. They're on the phones and so on. My husband is busy at work all the time. Yeah, it's true. He gives me vacations from time to time. It's true. He gives me the fanciest jewelry. But your husband gives himself. You might not have materialistic ganzen achievements and the große Gedillas, but you have love, you have care, you have family, you have values. Nobody's spoiled there. So happy, so satisfied, so fulfilled. It's something to envy. The nations of the world are nitshuka. They give a kiss from time to time. They throw a jewelry. They shout at you with pleasure. All of a sudden, boom, yeah. But the Jewish nation's chavuka dvuka boch through thick and thin never leaves Hashem. It's forever and ever and ever, no matter what Holocaust and pogrom and Inquisition and so on. No matter what personal failures in life, no matter the falling, no matter how shivrei luchis, but chavuka dvuka boch, they're clinging on to you, Hashem. That's the Yesoyid. The Gemara says, after all, who wins at the end? So you have a Rus, where Rus in herself, she didn't have the children right away, and 10 years went by, and she loses her husband, she loses her status, she loses her nation and family and everything else. And she does it, but it doesn't get her anything. That's what it looks like. And she sacrifices, and she comes to Eretz Yisrael, and she comes with a shviga, and instead of a shviga paying a ksuba of her son, she goes collecting. Not the shviga should go collecting and bring her food home. And she goes like a beggar. She doesn't have to do that. She could have gone home like Arpa. And she goes collecting another tesed. And she goes and clinging to Boyas because I have to worry about Elimelech. I have to worry about Machlin and Chilian. I have to take care of my life. I lost everything. I'm a beggar. I'm a pauper. I'm a convert. I have to set up my life. No, go to the goyal, go to that field, don't go to that field. I'm sorry, not enough to shviga. The mother-in-law is not providing as she promised. She had status. Now she's nobody. Why do we have to stick around? And she goes and goes to Boaz, the old man. And the Boaz says, Me, Lemi Hanara. He doesn't say, who is she? He says, who does she belong to? Why? There's a special Edelkeit there. There's a chinuch. I see royalty. I see Edelkeit, not royalty of haughty royalty. I don't see arrogance in her behavior. I see tznius. I see somebody that's totally altruistic for Yenna. I see something so special, so monumental, so much so that she's a great asset to the Jewish nation. Which nation does she belong to? Which family does she belong to? It's a dream to have such edelkeit, such humility. I see royalty, high status, but humility. This blend doesn't usually, it's something absolutely unique. And he says that, he says, no, make sure nobody molests her, nobody rape, nobody kits her, nobody abuses her. So ultimately, she comes home and again, chesed all the time. And then she tells her, he's your goyal, go and tell him you want to restore the family. So she goes to him and he thinks, wow, this chesed is even more. She's going to marry an old man. So he has twofold chesed over here. She's doing chesed for giving, for her giving up her life and her perspective, her dreams, her aspirations. She's giving it all up just to set up, to restore somebody's family. And she's marrying an old man, and the next morning he dies. So he goes and asks his older brother, the Goyal, are you going to take over our middle brother? And he says, you got to be kidding. I'm going to be Mechal. I'm going to bring a disgrace to my family, take somebody Rus. Lo yovi amoini mavikal Hashem. Of course not. So it's not going to happen. So Boya says he has to do it. And he takes it and he marries and he dies next morning. What does everybody say? Because he did what he did. That's a disgrace. And that's why Hashem punished him. He died right away. How old was Machloikus? How old he was. But he was old. The point is that she did chesed with him to help him restore Elimelech's family. And then he did chesed with her and she did chesed with him. What's his chesed? Everybody said Boaz died because he disgraced his family. His wife died of status, and then he takes this Giotis. He takes somebody from Amoni Moyev. It was a problem through and through, and they never got over it. They never were accepted. Going down, let's go down a little bit. Oivad has Yishai. Yishai begets Oivad bores Yishai, and Yishai bores David. And Shmuel Hanovi comes. And Shmuel Hanovi comes from in the name of Hashem, and he wants to crown one of Yishai's children. And they bring the biggest one and the second, all 7 brothers. And he says it's not it. But it looks good. They're handsome, they're smart, they're talented, they're strong, they're powerful and rich and popular, and they've got all it takes. No, but it's not it. This one is a chasarn and midas. This one, everybody's got it's not it. So you got nobody else? No. But you have to have because it's not it. Well, somebody spills the beans, and Yishai has to, he has no choice. He has to say the truth. Yeah, we have one son, but he's not my son. Why is he not your son? Hamza. He doesn't even look like me. He doesn't look like my wife. I mean, I don't know who he looks like. Who does he look like even? Admaini. Something, he looks like Asa. Totally not my family. So we threw him out right away. When he was a kid, little kid. By now, he's totally grown. He's almost 30 years old. He's 28 years old. So they bring David, and Hashem tells him this is the one. And then what happened over here? We said this in other shurim, but let's repeat it for a second. You have the wife, you have his wife, Yisha's wife, and Yishai is taunted that illegitimate marriage. His grandfather, Yishai's grandfather, Boyas, married Rus. Lo yave amoini moyav v'kal Hashem. I hagam. There's a machlokes there. Most people held why the hill. It says lo yavi mamzer v'kal Hashem. It doesn't say mamzer. No mamzeres. Yes. There's mitzri and adoimi. It doesn't say men yes and women men not and women yes. Why would you say amoin amoin v'loy amoinis moyavi v'loy moyavis? Why would you differentiate between the one and women over here? And the teretz is because by mamzer it doesn't say, the Torah doesn't give reason. But if it comes amin and moyav, it does give reason. Al dvar shelo yikitum eschem b'lechem mayim b'derech b'tzeiskem tzrayim, because they didn't come forth when they greeted you, and they didn't greet you with bread and water. Val dvar asher socher es bilim ben boil, then they hired Bilam to curse you. And it says, Vayavich Hashem, Hashem turned it over, and he turned the clothes to brachas and so on. The point over here is that there is reason. So if the reason is not applicable, so it's not negaya, it's not negaya. So therefore the Chazal teach that amoin v'loy amoin is moyavi v'loy moyavis. Only men, that's the Gemara says, they're the darkim to go and greet you. Women stay inside. Women is the interior minister. Men are the foreign ministers. They go out to fetch, they go out to hunt, they go out to do business. The women stay home and build the home. They have no business going out of the country. If they have a certain reason to go out of the country, they go, but not to greet. They're not the foreign ministers. They're built more for interior ministers. They know the home much better. They understand children. They have this connection, this relationship. The men are out there to go and adventure. So if it's not, Yishai is overwhelmed, and he separates from his wife for 3 years, and then he decides, let me fix it. We spoke about this Indian, how to sort of go around beat the system by a mamzer. A mamzer marries a shivcha, and the shivcha they let her go to freedom. Once she goes to freedom, then has a baby. That baby is a total Jew. She went to freedom, became a Jewess. And then she goes, and that baby is already kosher. So Yishai wanted to do the same thing. He's going to marry this shivcha, his maidservant, and he'll let her go free. When she's pregnant and she'll go free, then she'll have a baby, and the baby will be kosher, not from amoinim mayavi. But this maidservant loved her master, and she loved her mistress as well. And she said, "I'm torn between them. He wants me to marry her, but how can I do it to my boss, his wife?" So secretly, there were no lights then. They weren't so like today, so picky and everything else. So when he made up, she told her about it, and she says, when you go into the tent to marry, you go instead of me. He wouldn't know the difference. Yishai never did a Veda in his life. How would he know? So that's what she encouraged her. You can't go behind your back. We don't do such things. So she encouraged her. He's going to think that he's living with the shifcha, and that's it. And she went in, and she became pregnant. So he accused her of mamzer. You're a married woman. How could you have a baby? So clearly with somebody else. So the kid is a mamzer. So David HaMelech, my father and mother left me. He threw him out of the house. Comes Shmuel Novi and says, no, that's the one Hashem chose. Comes, yes, this Admoini, this like street kid, like homeless kid. Yes, that's the one. David HaMelech gets up against Goliath. He's used to living in the open, in the wild. He's used to living with Hashem every second. He's used to chavuka dvuka bach, even when it's hard and when you're rejected by everybody, by your own parents, by the people who are supposed to protect you and provide for you. Or he has no He doesn't need anybody to teach him about Chavuka Dvuka Bach. And Hashem says, with it, all that pain you endured, Yovay b'nei Anushuka, let the anti-Semite, let this outrageous Goliath fall in the hands of b'nei Hadvuka. Only David, because he endured all that pain, only David can take him out. So David is used to his slingshot, and he davens to Hashem that the Malach that's in charge of the metal that should stay heavy, all of a sudden should soften up the metal by his forehead, and David swings he schleps the slingshot with the rock and shoots it a few pebbles right in his forehead, and the metal softened like mamish nothing, and it went right in and knocked him down. He took Goliath's sword and he took off his head. As a reward, David HaMelech installed that until then they used to take a tzor, a sharp knock, tzur is a stone. They used to take a tzor, a sharp stone, and they would do milah. From then on, the Ismail, what's it called? David HaMelech installed this new minhag of doing it with a knife of metal, because aschus that the malach of the metal softened up so he can take out Goliath. So I'm going to go let me just go weiter. So here you have David HaMelech. He becomes famous, and he fills up the clothing of Shaul, which is the head taller than everybody, and he becomes suspicious, and he wants to kill him. And there's the whole story of Machal Chodesh with that we read in Torah of Yonasan and David. There's Ahava She'ein Tluya b'David, because David is taking his place. He's the Yoresh of his father. He's Yoresh Etzer, and David the Melech is going to officially take the Kitzur. Also Chesed, and David the Melech, with Michal doesn't have children, but later Bathsheba, and you have Shlomo Melech, and everything is nice. Shlomo Melech ends up with the throne, the great throne from Shlomo Melech. And it says that they had a chair next to him on the throne for the Eim HaMelucha. So Chazal teach, who's this Eim HaMelucha? It turns out it was Rus HaMoyavia, which became Rus, the Jewess. Rus is sitting there. And so many years ago, so many decades ago, she invested and gave everything up she had. She was mamish v'nafshi kofel kol tia. And it turns out who wins at the end of the day? And the Gemara says, Yovi b'nei hanishuka, let the one that once in a while throws out a kiss, and v'yipul b'nei hadvuka, let it fall in the hands of dvuk chavuka v'dvuka bach, that cling to you, I'm doverking you. And she falls in, and then she witnesses how David HaMelech came to be, and Shlomo HaMelech, and she's sitting there in Sheprim Nachas. That's the Megillas Rus. So who did she take a lesson from? So it says Rachel and Leah. What's the story of Rachel and Leah? Rachel and Leah, Rachel tells Leah the secret code, the parole, the password, which we spoke about in other Shurim. Chana, that's Chala, Es, Chala, Nun, Nida, to take off Chala and dedicate it to the Kohen, to the sanctuary, and then you have Nida, the Taras Mishpacha, the purity of the Jewish family, and then you have the Adlokas Hanedis, lighting the candle to light up the world with Hashem's light. That's Hashem's train of thought. That's Hashem's brachas and Yeshuas and everything else. So she tells her the code. She tells her the password. And Leah goes ahead and marries. Then a while later, the Torah records that when she wants the dudoim, she wants these flowers because it's prone to pregnancy and so on. So she wants the flowers, and she asks Leah, please, could you give me the flowers? And she says, Hama'at kachtech is ishi v'lakachas is didoy b'ni. Not only you took my husband away from me, now you want to take the door from my son Reuben that brought to me? How dare you? So everybody asks, Leah, she took your husband? You took her husband. She gave you the password. How do you even say such a thing? So what a Mefarshim answer? Very likely, it's possible, there are such shitas, that Rochel was such a tzaddik, so altruistic, so v'nafshi kofel akol tia, that Rachel tells Leah it's just in other words, look, the minig over here by the Jewish family, the minig is you have to say the password, which is Chana. That's a Chala, it's a acronym of Chala, Nida, and Adlokas Nedis. So you just say Chana. Remember the word. What's the word? Chana, 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 Chana. Chana is saying it. Remember the word Chana. Okay. The last you say Chana. Leah hasn't the slightest idea. Rachel just gave up a whole future, the whole clock, everything. She's just capable of it. Not for a minute, for eternity. So Leah is complaining to Rachel. She has no idea, clueless mamish, that Rachel gave up everything. Leah is supposed to be thankful every second. She got Malchus through Yehuda David HaMelech, and through Levi she gets Kuna and Leviah, and she gets everything. She gets everything. She has Yisachar, she has Shimon, the Rebbe's, she has Yisachar, the Daya, she has everything. She has Zvulun, the rich guy. She has absolutely everything. On the other hand, Leah is also chesed to Rachel. What's the chesed? She realizes she's going to have the seventh son, and she begs Hashem, change it. Give the boy that's in me, put it in Rachel, and take the girl potentially that Rachel is going to have, if she has, and give it to me. Later on, that daughter went outside, and because she was a man she had a little bit of a man nature of going out. So she went out and she was molested, and there was a baby. They sent the baby to Mitzrayim. Yosef met that lady, and Osnas Bas Potifera, and he married her. Which, in other words, Leah begged Hashem that this Yosef should come to Rachel, not to her. But Yosef married Leah's offspring through Dinah. But the point over here is Leah didn't tell Rachel that I davened, I gave away my son for you, because Rachel's going to feel worse than the Shvachas. I'm not even worthy to have as much as the Shvachas two sons. So therefore, Leah didn't tell Rachel, and Rachel didn't tell Leah. It should be like Rachel and Leah. And the same with Tamar. Yehuda goes, has children. Shua, Bashua Cananis. So he has Aaron, Oinon, and then Sheila, and he doesn't want. But she knows she deserves to be the builder of Yehuda, of David HaMelech, of Mashiach. So she goes around about. Very similar, by the way, to what Ruth did. She goes on the field to Boaz, and she becomes pregnant, and she's willing to die, nafshi kofel akultia, not to embarrass somebody. The lady he chapped, he said, "Tzadkim again chesed." He could also made sure by not saying tzadkim she would go to death, she would be burnt, and that's it. So you have these nafshi kofel akultia situation of total altruism. That's why that's the derech eretz kodma l'Torah before pshat libi v'soyer sechel. That is the derech eretz kodma l'Torah. Rus is totally fayenim, totally chesed, and Boaz is chesed, coming from Yehuda and Tamar chesed, and all that built together, you get David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech, and Rus is sitting nearby in Sheping Nachas. Who wins at the end? The Jewish nation was Chavuka Dvuka Bacham, around for 3,300. What are we up to? 2448. What's it? 30. 36 already this year. Let me take a calculator. What's it? What 5,785 minus 2,448. Yes, 3,337. No, that's not. 586. So it's 86. 5,786 minus 2,448. 3,000. No, come on. My cup arbenish now. 3,337 will be exactly 30. Right now, my head is not working. 3,330 something years. Right now, it's getting. I don't know why. Hashem will give you my head. If anybody could help me, how many years from Matan Torah is now? Please say it, and my head is not working. So, who stuck it out? We did, and we're still around. All the enemies are not. It's because if you fight for Hashem, not because what's worth it for you, what's worth it for Him. That's why we stay up Shavuos night. Why do we stay up Shavuos night? What are we rectifying? The point of here is learning because Saloinzich, and then there's Kardim Lachtaboy, and so on and so forth, like the Mishnah says in Ovis, it's worthwhile. I get covered, I get this, I get that. Then there's learning Leman Hashem. Learning Leman Hashem is totally something else. There's Nasa and there's Nishma. There's learning because I have to know. So not Nishma, but then there's Nasa. What's Nasa? Nasa means that I'm willing to give up my whole life for the Jewish nation, for not Medina, but Klal Yisrael, for Toiras Yisrael, Kedushas Yisrael. I'll say a story about this, but later. So the Nas is I'm willing to give up my life for Yedim. Even if I lose out, that's Chavuka Dvukabach. That's the Nasa. The Nasa is giving up, and the Nishma is learning to know, and so on. A woman has the Nasa, and a woman has the Nishma too. There's learning for l'shem learning, that's for the men, but the Nasa and Nishma, the essence. Why two crowns? Nasa is because Chavuka Dvukabach, and how do you see it? Chazal teach. I said it a few times, I want to repeat it. Yeshua comes and says, Halonu Litzarein. So the Gemara says, what's Halonu Litzarein? Pashup Pshat is, are you with us or with the enemies? So the Gemara teaches, no. Halonu Litzarein is, it's Toisvis, but Lonu means Torah Tzivil Lonu Moshe. Is it because we didn't learn on a free time? Or Tzareinu that we stopped doing the carbon Tomit Shel Shachar Tomit Shel Rebbeim, the oil that we did every day, that everybody in Klal Yisrael participated with Machzah Shekel. That's a kapora that to do away with our enemies. So why are you coming now? Because we stopped yesterday to Tomit, or because last time we didn't learn and at free time? So he could have said. So he said it's because of the Torah. So he should have answered Halonu. No, he should have said Lanu, that's why. He doesn't say. He says Atabosi. I came now. Ata with an ayin. Now. So what's Pshat I came now? So we said other times in the Shurim, we said the Pshat, the Magid, Atabosi, if you're facing Yeshua, that means you're my enemy. So he's asking alone today. He says, no, I just came now, that's why. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to be on your side against the enemy. So that's all Pashup Pshat. But according to Torah, what means Atabasi? It's because of the Torah. How do you see? He didn't say Lanu. He says Atav Ata Kisrulchem es Ashir Azois Velamdas Bnei Yisrael Simba B'Fiem, like we say in Pashas Vayelech. Va'ata, and which is the Shira? Hazin is the Shira Satira. But Va'ata now, Kisvu Lechem is a Shira Zois. Torah should be like a Shira. Torah should be, if it's something you learn to enjoy, you learn to appreciate. Somebody that appreciates, high class wine. You learn to appreciate beauty or paintings, whatever it is. If you learn to appreciate, then even if it's your free time, even when it's your off day, that's you do what you like to. In other words, when somebody enjoys something, he doesn't have to have time. He'll find time. Even there's always room in a meal for good dessert, for something you love. So something you love, so there's always special time for. You'll find time. You'll make time. It's if learning is your enjoyment, not because it's kedai for me. Kedai for me is meshuka. But when it's not kedai, it's chavuka dvuka bach. It's all the way. So I'm so when I that's why at night, how do you know somebody's chavuka dvuka bach if he's learning at night when it's off time and you're learning it? So what we're trying to show to the Rebbeinu Shalom, no, this is out of love. This is marriage out of love with the Ibishter and Klal Yisrael. We're trying to say at night when it's my off time, the whole Welt schluft. No, we're sitting and learning. Why? Because it's not because it's a partnership. It's not because it's self-aggrandizement and it's for selfish reasons. It's not because you do for me and I do for you. No, it's when it comes to love and it's painful and we're going through torture. We're going to still thrive. We're going to still be connected through thick and thin. That's why learning at night shows how that it's something out of pleasure. It's something we take pride and pleasure in. We consider it our privilege that we're able to cling with you. Not only learning in order to know, but learning to emulate your train of thought, to think like you, to connect through our intelligence to you, to correct through our emotions in the learning, a geschmack in the top and being emotionally involved. So now we have to go to the Birchas HaTorah. We say the bracha, the most important bracha, says the Gemara, of all the three Birchas HaTorah, is Asher Bocha Bonu Mikol Ha'am, which is ultimately the bracha. It's the bracha before the Torah and then after Torah Asher Nasalanu. But Asher Bocha Bonu is the ultimate bracha of Birchas HaTorah. And Hashem chose us. Where do you see Hashem chose us? So here's the word. It's very important. We learn in on Simchas Torah. Hashem misin v'zoy sabracha da Hashem misin ba v'zorach misei lomayir. So Chazal teach me that's Esav. I feel my harparon basim Rivas Kodesh. Harparon is Yishmael and so on. So and he comes to Rivas Kodesh ultimately. That means he went to all the nations. He goes to Yom Tevelach had the gates of America and he's Kibudov. It was 60s and 70s, revolution, whatever the elderly they don't chap, we're gonna do mamish fakert, and that was those times. So when I was a kid, we got a hold of this record player, and then my parents would play this Yom Tevelach, and there was I remember Ayay America, and the Broches machten dafür Broches machen darf Yid mit Toldos nicht vergessen. Right? And a bunch of beautiful songs. One of them, he had the song of Hashem going to the nations, and what was for America? I remember the Kibbutz. Kibbutz. The Americans said we know better than the parents in the 60s and 70s. Then getting back to the immoral people, Ammon and Moav, that's adultery, incest and everything, and adultery. You come to Yishmael, you come to Esav. Esav's a loisirtzach, don't kill. The Italians, the Rome. Yishmael is Geneva. I said many times, if Yishmael is Geneva, but they're the biggest murderers today. The territory is the Shoj Ganovim, the radical Islam. Shoj Ganovim, that they stole the Tzitha from Esav. Okay, you want to say Esav married into Yishmael, and they merged. I'm just, it's just a little humor. And I don't know, I probably said this in the share. If you ask a Jew, don't go al yersu lalis elahar. Don't go up to the mount. Every Jew wants to be the first one. He always has to be the most important, the first one. So that's how we're in the Soviet. Don't don't grab. Don't grab. Wait till you should be given. Torah you can grab, but don't grab. And then you get a matana. But other things covered in and all the other things. Okay. So Asher Bonu Mikol Amim, he went to the other nations before us. Here's the teretz. This is very, very important. Asher Bonu Mikol Amim means the following. Hashem chose Avraham. Just like Ruth, she went through turmoil. She went through torture. She went through belittling. She went through shaming. She went through every step of becoming second class, not first class. And she gave away her marriage life. She gave away everything. But ultimately, she sat by the throne next to her great grandchild Shlomo Melech. She sits the great great grandchild, and she kvilled from nachas. She has such nachas. Avram Avinu, Hashem gave him 10 nisyonis, and with Sorei Menu, every drop of the way, he finally made it in life. No, leave everything behind and come to Israel with nothing. And then he comes to Israel, and there's a famine. He doesn't even have what to eat. And then and then he has to go, and they take away his wife twice, Plishtim and Mitzrayim, and all the nisyonis and milchamas he had. And ultimately, he has to shech the son, and then his wife dies, and then he doesn't even have a plot. He has to pay a fortune through and through. The Ovis and the Moist, our forefathers, patriarchs and matriarchs, suffered through life. All the Nisyanis. Why? Mine say always similar bonim. They went through that. That's the bochabonu. All this torture turned out in the Shvatim and going down to Mitzrayim and suffering in Egypt and all that and all the gullus and everything else, coming out to Midbar. Why? For one reason. To work them out, to prepare the muscles, to get them to be that sensitive, that heartfelt, sensitive, kind-hearted nation. So Hashem, you went through all that turmoil. You went through all that misunderstanding. You went through that torture. Why? That was Hatova in disguise. That was Gutzkeit in disguise. That was absolutely a favor from Hashem. I'll give you a little painful story, but two stories. Oh, it's so late already. Okay, so I'm going to try to make it very quick. You have both the stories are pretty famous. You have one is a more contemporary, one is a Siddush Maisa. Okay, we'll start from the contemporary story. There was a fellow Yaakov Frank. Yaakov Frank was a anical from the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, Tzvi Pesach Frank. He was in Miluim, and he had to run under shelter because it was raining, it was pouring, and he ran in some hallway, and he was sitting there waiting for the terrain to the hurricane to stop, and he'll walk out, and he's sitting there schmoozing with this guy that was sitting there. And who are you? Are you Anikel from Reb Tzvi? Yeah, yeah, I'm Anikel. Tell me, why was he was like down the last few decades of his life? He wasn't up, that fire. He used to walk around with such a smile and something was missing. He was also broken. And he told him the story. He says that in 1929 in Severn, when they murdered the 65 Jews, amongst them a couple of dozens of Bachrim, and he said there was an American Bach, I forgot his name now, and this American Bach, the parents were very influential and Grace Knackers, and they wanted him back home. They felt something, this hostile in the air. And the Yeshiva thought this Amerikaner Bocher, he just left this Amerikaner finally after such a long time. He finally chapped the Schnitt, he chapped the gang. He finally got into it and he left that, this heavy weighing, Gashmias, luxurious life. And he got into his Torah and he's growing by leaps and bounds. I mean, his mom is such a drastic change. And he just started the geschmack. He just finally gets it, and you're going to rip him away to this business world. There's no way. There's no way. So he begged the Rav of Yerushalayim, which had some influence on the Americani Eden. There was some shaykhs. Please, he knows you. He respects you. If you write him a letter, then he'll back off. He won't schlep his son away. Mamish Shod. He worked so hard, his son, and now for nothing. So Rav Tzvi Pesach Frant wrote a letter, Alay Val Tzavori. He's taking full achrayus, full responsibility. You can rest assured that everything will be fine with him, which didn't happen because when they came after that with the pogrom and they killed their son was one of the martyrs, Hashem Yimkon Dama. Reb Tzvi Pesach Frank never got back to himself. He took achrayus on their son and he didn't deliver. He was so broken, and he explains to this fellow that's why his grandfather was so broken. And this fellow says, "You have no idea. You're telling me you don't know the rest of this? No, I don't. We never know. Your grandfather doesn't know what happened. No, well, what happened was the parents being so influential, they made such a scandal, worldwide scandal, that the whole England was turned over, and they fired the guy because it turns out that there were British soldiers, British policemen and soldiers with ammunition stood by and saw the killing, didn't move. Absolutely, they were so happy about it. So they shamed them in the whole world, and the British government felt bad that now that people for 1 second saw the true colors. They were such evildoers, but I'm not going into it. They were the cause of this whole conflict going on today. Besides the cause of halacha b'dei Yaakov, but they helped the Jordans against the Jews. Their army generals, but I'm not talking about that. We get blamed from all the sides. They're showing the true colors. They don't protect any Jews in England. Jews have no business staying in England because of this government. And in the name of justice and rights, human rights, but that's not our topic. So they went and they sent a new guy, and this guy came and realized that the Jews don't want to look at him. So what they did was a gesture of like showing that they really do care to fix some relations. They allowed 5,000 visas, whatever it was, documents that 5,000 Jews from Poland can come in and immigrate to Israel. A gesture. So they went, and these guys from Poland came, and this guy tells the Einikel of Rav Frank, he tells him, by the way, Yaakov, these guys fought tooth and nail in the army, in the Haganah, whatever it was, the Israeli groups, and they saved countless, who knows if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people were saved from death because of this. Vigorously, they fought mamish. This group of 5,000, not all of them, but a big part of them, they fought and they saved the Jewish nation. They were so instrumental in 48 and so on and so forth. So he's telling him that first of all, you save 5,000 people that didn't perish in the Holocaust, and that's 10 years before. So they went and built families. So you're talking about their families, and potentially hundreds of thousands of people can come out of this 5,000. But besides that, they were instrumental in the beginning of Israel with all the Arabs, the radical Arabs attacking the Jews. They were a big part of this Hatzlacha. So they saved countless of thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of Jews. So he says, your grandfather doesn't know that. You have to tell him. He says, I'm going right now. The range Shmain, he ran away. He runs to his commander, and he tells him, my grandfather, Tzibroch, over 30 years. I have to go tell him. He says, I can't wait. What if he dies tomorrow? He's an old, broken man. So he says, so go. So he runs on to Petah Tikva, tells his wife, she says, but you're going to visit, you visit him every Shabbos, you go to Yerushalayim, and Shabbos morning, you have your minute, you go daven by him, and then he says, I can't wait for 1 second, how broken my grandfather is. So he takes 3 buses to Yerushalayim, comes in late at night, knocks at the door, and his grandfather says, what happened? And he says, I was in Miluim and I met a guy and he tells me, I have to tell you this. I have to tell you this. So he tells him the whole thing that this family went and drove over and they got the 5,000 visas. And these 5,000 people came in and married and had children and for 10 years. And then they went and they fought tooth and nail with the ganze Knack they fought against, and they were so instrumental in saving countless of Jewish lives. And the grandfather sighed, such a sigh of relief, and he said, Nichamtoni beni, you have no idea what kind of chesed you did with me. You have no idea how much pain I endured for over 30 years. I couldn't get back to myself. And you're telling me that this one life was enough shikofa lakol tiyeh and sacrificed for his nation? He was so overwhelmed. He thanked them profusely and he went. And he came back a day later for Shabbos, before Shabbos. And Kiminogi, Shabbos morning, he would go visit him. He comes Shabbos morning, his sister's there, and she says, our Zayda just passed away overnight. That means had he not come a day before, his Zayda would go to Yenevelt a broken person. The nib in the second before he told him this gewaltige Sache. Yes, it was very painful for the family. But this martyr walks up to Shemaim, this Bocher, and he had more schusim because of his giving up his life, more than a person living 1,000 years and trying to do some chesed. The point is that this is only one story we know of a tova in disguise. It looks like terrible tragedy. Hashem, we trust him by everyone has a story. We just don't know the stories. I said the story at the beginning of the week. I want to repeat it for a second. I said Shemaisa. The Mendel Meribinov, somebody came to him and told him it's a brachana. He needs money. He has 2 daughters, and he works day and night. Doesn't have a penny. But now that nobody wants to take his daughters, they're going to become gray soon. And who's going to want them? Who's going to, if they start becoming old? He can't marry off because Amuligat Saitin, they went to war and 9 out of 10 didn't come back. So it was one bach of 10 girls. I'm exaggerating, of course. But you get the point. So everybody fought over that boy. So whoever gave bigger nod promised more. So got the boy, and he didn't have anything to promise. So he felt terrible because he doesn't have money. His daughters should suffer. It just pains him to no end. So Mendel Merivinov sent him with a letter to the Abderuf, Doyev Yisrael. Doyev Yisrael will find a way. So he writes this letter, puts it in an envelope, and he tells him, don't give it to anybody, hold on tight and for no money. And when you get to him, he didn't have money to travel, so he went by foot. It took twice, 3, 4 times as long. So he stopped off at one place, and some gvir took him in and gave him to eat and said, you're way too weak. Go to bed for a day or two, and I'll feed you well, and then you go on your way. There's no way you're going to go so far. You still have a lot to go. So he went there and he befriended other people that stayed, as in the guest house. These guys were two swindlers. They were business people. They were just cheap to renting a room in a hotel. So they stayed by this Kavir. They, the kids. So they asked him what, where, when, and he told them he didn't know. He said, I'm such sodas and I have 2 daughters, and for years they can't get married because I can't promise anything. And the Rebbe sent me a letter to Abderov, and he's going to help me out with money, hopefully. They heard money. They waited for him to fall asleep. They went to his backpack and his sack, and they schlepped out the letter. They left the envelope. They took out the letter, and they understood that he's going to walk. It'll take him 2 days for sure, if not more. They have a wagon. They jumped into the wagon. They didn't wait for anybody. And the next morning, they were already there. They come in, and one of them plays it well. He starts crying. He knows all the information, and he says the name that's on the letter as if it's him, and he'll get the money, the big amount of money, enough to marry and buy apartments, houses, whatever it is, living quarters for two daughters. So the Rebbe, the Apterov, oy vey, it's Chatzorah. He sends out the Gabba. He says, "Here's, take the letter. Go around to the few Gvirim we have there and send the Rebbe Gebeitim. They got me the whole heart. Please give because Mama's a brach, you know." So the Gabba goes, and the Rebbe thought it'll take him a day or two to go around until he'll get some money. Nishtasa. Over here, the Gabba comes with a vilt of money, and within 2 hours, he's back already. He has amount that nobody ever. I mean, you can marry off like a rich person and buy a nice a house for this mamish. So much money. The Rebbe says there's something wrong. Usually, there's a lot of pain and torture, and people are so rigid, and you can't slip out. You can't squeeze out anything. And I thought it'll come with a fraction of that, and it'll take him a day or two or three. And here in Garnish, he's back in an hour or two, and he's got so much money. It never happened before. It's got to be a sutton over here. There's something deadly wrong with the thing. So he tells the people, "I'm sorry, I don't have the minute giving right away. I have to think it over. It's a ganze Sache. By me, it's a whole process." Show you what do we, but when they were pressuring, they have to get the money before that guy comes. The kids of the Rebbe says, "I can't tell you in hin and here." And show you. They wait a day, they waited two, and the Rebbe says there's something doesn't smell right away. And after a day or two or three, when the guy shows up, he comes crying, and he says, "I have a letter. I went to the Rebbe and I have a kitzur." He says the whole thing, his matzav, and it really sounded true. And then he takes out his from a sack. He takes out the envelope, and it says from him, from the Mendel, whatever he wrote, the Mendel Menivinov, to the the Apter of the Yisrael, and he gives the letter, and there's no letter inside. There's only envelope. And he says, "Oy vey, Rebbe," he starts crying. "I'm such a lo yitzchak, such a batlin. I can't even get a simple letter. I can't even get to be matzliach to get a simple letter from one address to the next. I mean, what's with me?" And he starts wailing. And the Rebbe says, "No, no, 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 no. Yeah, I'm actually very, very, very satisfied. Why? Because yeah, you want to know something? I got the letter already. Hashem sent it to me before, and I send my gaba, and I have all the money you want and you need, and even more than." And he gives him the whole sack of money, and he shows him the letter, and he says, "Hashem sent it before. Here, take it and go right away. Don't talk to anybody. Don't tell anybody every information. You ran your mouth, so the kids are." And he says, "But how?" He says, "Your two friends, they're not your friends. They're Ganovim. They stole your letter. They brought it to me. They're going to come to me now. I'll give it to them. But so don't go and don't, afashid of it, don't announce that what you're doing, where you're going, what you have, and so on in life. It's a good answer. Now that you have the money, go invest it. They should give a brocha, atzloch, and everything else." And he sent them off his way, and these guys came in, and the Rebbe gave it to them, and they ran out of town. What's the word? When it's not painful, when it's way too easy, when the rich sister has it all, she tells the other sister, "You have chavuka duka bach. I have nishuka. Nishuka at the end of the day is the chavuka duka bach. Those that endure the pain, those that because of them so many countless Jews were saved. That's chavuka duka bach. Yovi b'nei nishuka, v'ipul biyad b'nei hadvuka." So we ask the question, why not Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur, the revealing of the Torah, the Chavuka Dvuka Bach, the Nafshi Kofel Akolti happened on Shavuos. The Derech Eretz happened until Shavuos, and Shavuos, what happened was It was Ki'ish echad b'leiv echad. They sacrificed for Yenim. Then the Haggadah says, Ilu kirvonu lufnei asinav loy nosan ono satira. The Nasa part of Nasa and Ishma was there. We said Nasa, we will do together. What's Nasa? Nasa means you'll bring that and you'll bring something else. Everybody brings their chalik, and together, the yachad, togetherness, the one unity, we're all collectively are fulfilling the Torah. The Nishma is already for those for those that learn instead. I just want to remind you, remember the Gevir that said, Reb, I don't have to give tzedakah, I just learned the Hilchas tzedakah. No, that's not the Neshalma Ponas L'Seina. Neshalma Ponas, that's abuse of Neshalma Ponas L'Seina. That means those people that don't have what it takes. So Hashem goes to the nations of the world and he tells them, do you want my Torah? So we ask the Kasha, if it's Asher Bocha Bonu Mikol Amim. So you chose us, or you chose us because nobody else wanted? Two answers of it is very important. The first luchas and the second luchas. The first luchas, it says, Zocher Hashem Shabbos. Why should you remember Shabbos? Hashem created the world in 6 days, and that's why we keep Shabbos and so on and so forth. In other words, we're celebrating, we're saying Eidos. I think we spoke about it in the Shurim not long ago. And we're saying Eidos to the fact that Hashem is the one that created the world in 6 days, and the 7th day we're celebrating together with the close ones. It's Shabbos Hayom L'Hashem. Then we come to in Dvarim and Veschanan. It doesn't say Zocher, remember Shabbos. It says Shomer, keep Shabbos, safeguard the Shabbos, and it gives the additional reason because we went Vayiftach Hashem. You were Mitzrayim, and what's the lashon in Veschanan? Where's this? Says V'zocharto ki eved ha'yisa beretz Mitzrayim. Remember, you were a slave enslaved in Egypt. You were eved in Mitzrayim. Vayetziach Hashem lechem misham. Hashem took you out from there. Biyot chazak v'ritziyah. Al kain, therefore, tzivcha Hashem lekecha lasas yom Shabbos. So that's another reason. Not the reason of Sheishis Mebreish. Hashem created the world in 6 days. It's another reason, additional reason because of Mitzrayim. The first Aseres HaDibros were Zocher, remember. Everybody can culturally you can remember. You can break on bread and pick up a toast of wine. The non-Jews can do that too. Zocher, Hashem wanted. He went to the nations of the world and he said the 10 Commandments. It should be universal, and everybody's part of the Sheishis Mebreishis, not only the Jews. So that was. But then Hashem comes to the second Luchas, and the second Luchas is about Mitzrayim, and that's Ashkocha Protis for the Jewish people. The Ashkocha Protis that every Jew has, Protis. That's a higher level. And at that level, there are many more commandments for a Jew that the non-Jews don't have. They have 7 commandments. We have many, 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 many more. And when Hashem says this is Shomer, you have to safeguard it. This is very precious. And Hashem says the Ashkocha Pratis is so the other nations of the world, they have this preparation, this Havamina, so they can blend in slowly in today's day and age. When we come to Eretz Yisrael and we have this unbelievable moisim and nisim that we have now, what Hashem did to the Jewish nation, to pick up the flag of the Jewish nation, ultimately coming to the Hara Maria and celebrating a third base of Mikdash, the time looks so suitable like never before. We were always in hashpola, belittled. Finally, the Jewish nation today, the nation of the world, the smart ones, the intelligent ones, the honestly intelligent ones, say, teach me your Torah. I want to know more of your Torah. Teach me your Talmud. Teach me your Torah Shebal Peh. Teach me how to commit, how to be chavuka dvuka bach. I want to lead this nishuka. I want to go into chavuka dvuka bach mode. and more nations of the world are coming closer. And so what's happening? Just like Goliath went crazy because he had his hate for himself. Goliath, when these Jews, the Jew that hate the Jewish nation, they hate themselves. They hate the fact that that the Jewish. They hate the fact that Chavuka Dvuka Boch. They want to be Neshukas, unfortunately. So they come with such outrage, they come with such gas and venom and v'chulu v'chulu. Our answer is there are many, many non-Jews in the world today, millions of non-Jews who want to come closer. They're dying to join the Jewish nation. Many and more to come, it's Hashem. And we're waiting for the day that the nations of the world will come and say, no, Chavuk, I want to be part of Chavuka Dvuka Bach. Please teach us how to stay loyal, not when Seloitzach, not when there's a schatchus, when it's fresh, no, when it feels like stale, how to renew it, how to stay in this for the long haul, how to be chavukit bach forever, cling on and never leave go, and to see the hatova in the skies, to see the good sky in the skies that comes out of it, and then when we have that, we'll see that all the nisyonis that Avram Avinu, the Ovis and Imois and the Shvatim and Mitzrayim and all the Jews till today, all the suffering we went through is all for the day when we'll come and we'll live to Met Hashem to see Mashiach ben David. David is Chai v'Kayim. David Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayim. Because David HaMelech has this the Tehillim, his Sefer, is Sif Soif of Doivers Bekever. His words are repeated, and he asks Hashem whenever somebody will say Tillim and recite Tillim, he'll be there crying alongside us. He'll be there giving all he's got. So today, every time somebody learns Yenim's Sefer, Yenim's teachings, then they become alive and alive. So David Melech always has Yidden crying Tehillim, and therefore David Melech is Chai v'Kayim. And Mashiach ben David, may we live to see Mashiach ben David. And when unity comes together, when we see the shoyrish and the source of everything, so every Yid should come back home. Every Yid should stop hating themselves and come and become Chavuka Dvuka Bach forever. In Simcha uvesosen, with Aliyas Leregel, and everybody healthy and gesund and Mazel and Bracha and Atzlocha together. Thank you very much.